Well, Janine, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I am so excited to have you because you're going to talk about a topic that, oh, what can I say? Some business owners think about it, hear about it, get scared, but we don't really talk about it. But before we dive in, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do?
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Janine Coombs. If you haven't heard of me before, I help coach-shaped people cut through and position their offers so that they're obvious must-haves and their ideal clients want to buy them.
I know, and I love that. And this is why I'm so excited to have this conversation because I know a lot of my clients are listening to this. I know that a lot of people in the audience is listening to this and just going, yes, I need to talk about this thing, but where do I start? But before we go there, tell us a little bit about yourself because obviously you've got a background, you've got a history, something led you to where you are now. What is that story like?
Oh, well, my background is in corporate marketing. So for many years, I was working in big corporates and I was pretty happy. Um, but I got pregnant and I was intending to go back to work. And as it went on, as the maternity leave went on, I thought, you know what, don't think I do want to go back to work. What on earth am I going to do if I don't go back to work? And to begin with, I had all sorts of crazy ideas to set up businesses, like things that are just not in my wheelhouse at all. And luckily, I didn't spend too much time on those ideas because I started to see friends of mine setting up their own businesses and just not getting marketing. They would make weird decisions and I'd be like, why are you doing that? That, you're very, very intelligent and that is a weird thing. That's not what you should be doing or spending your time on. And I couldn't keep my nose out. I had to get stuck in and I was giving advice. And I thought, "Do you know what? I don't think I'm done with marketing." And that's when I started helping small business owners. And over the years, I have niched down to coaching and helping coaches rather and coach-shaped people.
Yeah. And I think it's so true what you said there is for a lot of us when we do start our businesses, we focus so much on getting a business off the ground, but the other entity what we don't really focus on, and I'm talking for myself here, I mean, I made that mistake, is the marketing aspect. We don't think about the marketing. We know we got to do it and we know we'll do it eventually, but how do we do it? Where do we start? Blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, that is a lesson for so many of us. And if we look back to where we are and how we started, I mean, it
Mm.
is a completely different entity on your business that you've got to think about.
It's a complete beast. And when I was setting up my own business, I thought, well, at least the marketing will be easy, which is was so naive because doing your own marketing is always much, much harder.
Yeah.
And you're trying to do everything. Well, I was trying to do everything I did in corporate. Like I expected it to be as slick. I expected to have all the channels and all the bells and bangles, and you just cannot do it when you're starting out as a solo business owner. It's
Yeah.
impossible. So you have to prioritize. And as I've gone through, I've got more and more confident about doing less.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's true what you're saying there. When you work for other companies and you're doing their marketing, you're not as involved personally. But when you now have your own business, you're that sole trader, you are responsible for the marketing. You're the one who's got to get out there. Oh my gosh, it
Mm.
is the hardest thing. And I know everybody who's listening to this is shaking their heads, going, yep, that's me, that's me. But in
Yeah.
addition to that, I think a lot of people also kind of fall into this category where they start with their businesses or where they're already a little bit further along the line with their business.
Mm.
And they get to that point where a lot of people are saying to them, you need to niche down. You need to
Mm.
focus on one thing. And I think for a lot of people, that kind of scares the heck out of them. First of all, where do they start? Second of all, what does that mean? And so many people have got different interpretations of niching down. But you've got
Mm.
something that I really like. You're talking about reverse niching.
Yes.
And I want you to share that with the audience and tell us a little bit what you mean by this.
Yes. I realize that what I do with my clients sort of answers the niching conundrum without actually doing the niching. So kind of cool. And what I mean by reverse niching is instead of looking at your whole business and deciding that your whole business is going to focus on one sharp segment, one industry, one problem, one personality type, whatever. You just take one offer at a time and you say, okay, what's the thing that I love doing the most, that I get brilliant results for, that's solving a really valuable problem for my ideal clients, that it does serve my ideal clients and not just clients that are all, I find a bit awkward to work with. Once you've got the positioning of that one offer, then you can move on to the next offer and go, okay, so is this serving somebody slightly different, or is there a theme there? And sometimes what happens with my clients is they come up with a few offers and they're like, oh, okay, there's a theme. And actually, this is my niche, and the niche reveals itself. And sometimes it doesn't, and they end up with a broader marketing positioning strategy. And if you look at some of the really big players in the entrepreneurial space, they're not niche. But again, it depends how you define niche, because I think
Yeah.
some people still think that niching is the demographics. It's like they live in this part of the world, or they're in this industry and their businesses or is this amount, or they're a human earning this amount. That's not, niching is just another way, a word for target market.
Yes.
you know, so you don't have to have one single target market for your whole business, but each individual service, you have to be really, really clear who you're helping with what for that
Yes.
one thing. And then, then you can move along and do others, add other offers in if you want.
Yeah, and I love that. Um, I know specifically from working with a bunch of other clients, the one thing that they always come to me with, and correct me if I'm wrong here from your perspective, is they have all these different packages, all these different programs, and they feel like they're marketing all of it to one particular client. And they come to me and they're saying,
Mm,
well, I can't get clients. I'm struggling to market all of this. And I think it comes back down to what you said about what is your interpretation of niching, but also focus on one thing. And then I love the word that you said when we started this. You said, let it fly. Get that one thing
yeah.
off the ground, let it fly. And then look at the next thing and the next thing. And then you might actually figure out that it does fall underneath this overarching umbrella, but you can't just go out there and try and market a whole bunch of different things to one particular client, as an example, or to a whole bunch of different clients, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes, that's such a good point. And that's interesting because I see a similar thing, but with a slightly different presentation. So there's people who've got loads of disparate offers aimed at the same person. If you're trying to help somebody get from A to B with something with for £50, why would they pay £500 or £5,000 for that transformation? Like, it's got to be different. You're solving different
Yeah.
problems with the different offers. But on the other hand, I've seen people, a lot of people are tempted by or feel obligated to create a value ladder. And if
Yes.
you if you're listening and you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this idea that you might have a high ticket offering that you eventually want to sell, and it might be thousands of pounds, but so that people can dip their toe in the water with you and get to know you, you offer something small, but you end up creating like a suite of offers that's largely theoretical. Like, I'm going to give you a freebie, and then on the back of that freebie, I'm going to sell you something that's £10, and then something that's a little bit more expensive, and then this ladder of offers that in theory a client will work through before they can actually buy your higher ticket thing, which will actually help them properly, like
Yeah.
help your ideal client actually get the results. So you're going to make them go through all these hoops until you actually offer them the thing that's really, really going to help them. How long is that going to take?
Mm,
Just selling one offer, just getting one offer to really fly, and you've nailed the positioning, and you know how you're selling it, and you know the why somebody would buy it, and all the bits and pieces work. That takes a lot of effort. Like, imagine doing
yes.
that for 5 or 6 increasingly expensive offers. It can absolutely work, that strategy of giving people tasters, but it works when you've nailed your main thing. So I
Exactly.
sometimes say build Rome and then build build the roads. Don't
Yeah.
build the roads and then build Rome. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Sorry, I get so excited when you said that because I'm like, yes, that's what I'm preaching. Somebody's saying the same thing as me. But I do agree with you 100% because, and I'm talking for myself as well, because I've been there, I've made the same mistake, creating so many different offers, the value ladder, the upsells, the downsells, you name it. I've done it all.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, it was exhausting. And I think what also happens is your focus is completely spread the whole time. You get overwhelmed, you can't get the marketing right. And before you
Mm.
know it, you just go, oh, well, this is not working. I know, I'll create something else. And then you're
Yeah.
off to the next one. And then you're constantly in this creation mode and you're not actually focusing on the thing that you feel would be of value to a potential client and then market the heck out of that, basically.
Yeah. And some of these things that well-meaning people suggest you should do as a stepping stone offer are things like a membership. Oh my goodness. Like the people I know who are earning decent money out of memberships, that's the only thing they do.
Yes.
That is the only thing they do. You can see them set it up and then gradually all of the other services fall away. They do not have time for running group programs or one-to-ones or anything like that because it is a business model in its own right.
Yeah.
And all of their marketing has to be about leading people to the membership and getting the right people into the membership. Um, so I think it's something very easy to say, and it sounds really nice. Oh, you have a little thing, and then you have a course. Like, you're running a course, a membership, a group program, a one-to-one thing. Like it's too much for most humans I know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And this is why I'm so excited that we're having this conversation because this will hit home for a lot of people
Oh, I hope
right here,
so. I
right
hope
now.
so. I hope it's relieving some of the pressure that people put on themselves. And
Yes.
again, like you said, it's you've been through it. I've been through it. Like the amount of things that I have felt obligated to do, or I went on a group program once about group programs, and I was like, this is so sensible. Like it just makes sense from a scaling point of view. And it was a brilliant group program. Don't get me wrong, but I came out of it and I was like, do you know what? I don't think I want to run a group program. It just doesn't suit me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't like it. I prefer one-to-one.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I'm doing more
see,
one-to-one.
that's the beauty. I always say to people that try these things out, see what
Yeah.
you like, see what you don't like, but there's got to come a point where you draw a line and say, okay, enough is enough. What is it that I really want to do? And I think this is my next question to you, because
Mm.
with all of us going through all of these stages, trying out these different things, when we get to that point where we say, okay, enough is enough, where do I draw the line? And what is that one thing that I need to choose and focus on? How do we choose that one thing? Because we love most of the things we do, but we don't know how to choose that
Mm.
one thing and run with it, basically.
Now you've caught me on quite a sort of a emotional spiritual day because I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do and the direction I'm taking in my business today. And so whereas normally I would say, well, follow the money and where are your ideal clients and da 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 da. Today I'm like, you need to be able to tune into your intuition and be
Yeah.
able to listen to your gut. What seriously deep down you know what you enjoy doing most and what's easy for you and what feels flowy and lovely, and other people come to you and they're really stuck and you're like, oh, I can see easily how to help you with this, and it's such an easy fit. There's something in there that you'll know what it is, and if you don't know yet, you haven't tried, you haven't gone far enough with your ideas, or tried enough things, I
Yeah.
believe. So it's not a very directive piece of advice, but that's what I've found to be true over the course of setting up and running my own business. You just somehow you need to tune into your intuition and go with it.
Yeah.
And that's been a journey for me. It's been a real journey. I'm still
And
on.
I just wanted to say it is a journey. It is something that you've got to practice and experience and kind of see. And I can talk for myself here again. I remember I had so many different things. I had a membership, I had an online course, and I had this, and I had this, and oh my gosh, mayhem. And it's only when I got to that point where I was like, okay, there's just this one thing I want to concentrate on. I kind of know what it is, but scared the hell out of me. And I thought, this is the thing. I'm
Mm.
just going to give it a go. I'm just going to focus on this one thing. And it took off. And that became the program that I'm still running today. And that's still the overarching thing that I'm doing with my business. But I've developed it, I've grown it, and I just fell in love with it. Yes, it was scary in the beginning to kind of think, this is the only thing I'm going to focus on. But I think the one thing that you said there, actually, two things that you said there, which stood out for me personally, which I can relate to, is what is your gut telling you? My gut told me
Mm.
do this thing, and I was like, oh, really? And I was questioning my gut. And then the other
Mm.
thing is what is easy for you? Now, this is where I think a lot of people go, oh my gosh, if this is too easy, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Mm.
Because, I can only get somewhere with hard work. So if I want something, if I want success, it must be difficult to get. So we automatically start to complicate things for ourselves. But I love that the fact that you said, what is easy for you? What do you enjoy?
Mm.
What is your gut telling you? And that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to share my part, because I completely resonate with that.
Yes. And it's something I'm working through with my coach, is this indoctrination from when you grew up and the schooling system that it needs to be hard. Hard work is worthwhile work. Easy work is not worthwhile work. It's nonsense. Like, we've got natural inclinations and abilities and interests, and why it's crazy not to lean into that. But I
Yeah.
found myself railing against it. It's like, well, I kind of feel like I want to do that, but that feels too easy and that feels too much like fun. Like, it's so funny that in my business I've always been about fun, but then when it comes into putting it to practice, I really have to fight that part of me that's like, no, it shouldn't be fun. It should be hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. You know, that's where you'll get success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we are all so hard on ourselves at the same time. It's just about giving yourself permission and say,
Mm,
you know, follow the path that feels aligned with you. Have
mm,
fun. Follow what is easy, what comes natural to you, but at the same time, give yourself permission to only concentrate on one. It is okay to park some of the other stuff to one side or to let go some of them. But I think it is
mm.
about us not being so hard on ourselves, because we tend to be our own worst critic in everything that we do, especially when we run a business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think very few people don't have some manner of inner critic that's sort of, stopping them from being 100% them, or stopping them from doing exciting, scary things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're sort of like, oh, that feels a bit, oh, so I'm not going to do that.
And I think it kind of
Change
leads
it.
beautifully into the next question that I have for you, because I think for us as business owners, talking earlier on about how hard it is for us to market ourselves,
Mm.
why do you find that it's so hard then for business owners to take this one thing, then to run with it, to market it? And then what do you feel is the benefits of them just concentrating on this one thing and marketing it?
Um, Gosh, there's so many reasons why people can't just stick with one thing and go with it. I mean, there's neurodiversity. So people with ADHD might be more prone to wanting um, new things, and their brains might be sparked by novelty. Um, but also there's like self-sabotage, which definitely has happened in my life,
Yeah.
where I'm getting some traction. I'm like, oof, am I getting traction? Don't know. Start this other thing. And then I don't have to face fear of failure, fear of success, whatever fears I have over here. I'll start something else over here. So you're sort of constantly swapping and changing. And it's something I have to look out for my clients as well, when they're starting to get traction, and then we've been going a few months with this new strategy, and they're like, oh, I've decided to not to target these people, I've decided to work with corporates. And you're like, you're restarting your business from scratch if you do that. So there's plenty of reasons why it's tempting not to stick with one thing.
Yeah.
um, but the benefits, I mean, there's a debate going on online, between feeling obligated to pick one thing and other people, and you've probably heard this phrase, multi-passionate.
Yes.
got a multi-passionate business. But when I look at the successful multi-passionate business owners, they've still got one business model and they're still selling one thing to one group of people. I'm thinking of Elizabeth Buckley Goddard, who's doing amazingly well, and her stuff. She does this. She's got this process where she tries something in her own business. She's very experimental. It's useful. She creates a course and sells it. Like that is what she does. She sells courses. Like that's one thing in my mind. So it's working really, really well, and people know what they're going to get from her, and
Yeah.
they feel safe in that lovely way. When you've got brand recognition, they feel safe in her hands, and they know what to go to her for. So yeah, that was a little bit of a sideline for me saying that yes, sticking to one thing when you do feel that lovely sort of scary, excited, oh, this is what my gut is telling me, and you lean into it, that is the your inner knowing telling you that that's what you need to focus on.
Yeah.
And then things start to get easier because all of your efforts are going into that thing. And then every learning you have, it's piling on top instead of the learnings being spread out. And,
Yes.
spreading yourself thinly is such a well-used phrase for a reason. It's so visual, isn't it? That you are literally taking yourself and, you are spread thin and you can see through you. You're not getting any traction because you're not able to muster yourself in one area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could go on all day about the benefits of focus. Yeah, it's how you get forward, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned there, which I love, is you said that take that one thing, work with
Mm.
it, market it, build it up. And as you build it, you learn with every step,
Yes.
one on top of the other. And I think what comes from that is once you've kind of, I won't say perfected, but once you've got this model, once it's this one thing that you focused on and you've seen it work, people are going for it, you're marketing it, everything becomes easy, like you said.
Mm.
But then when you've got this one model, you've got this thing that is now working for you, now you kind of feel in a better position to say, okay, this other thing that I maybe parked on the side, let me do the same for it. But because you learned from this one specific program that you kind of did, and if you want to bring in a second program, you're going to see that the second program kind of blends with this first one, but you
Mm.
can still do the same that you've done with the first one, and you do it even better sometimes because of what you've learned.
Yeah.
Does that make
There's
sense?
the
Sorry, I feel like I'm a little
Oh
bit
yes.
explaining. It
No,
makes
no.
sense in my head, but maybe it doesn't come across in the way I'm saying it.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It reminds me this discussion of focusing on one thing and just staying the course.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a graph somebody shared, and it had a posh name for this graph, but there's this expectation that your success is going to be linear, and it's just
Yes.
going to be step by step by step, and it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And if it doesn't, then something's wrong. But actually, the reality with all projects and endeavors is you see dips. I think it's called
Yeah.
the valley of despair. You
Yeah.
expect to see success by now, and you're not seeing success. In fact, you're seeing obstacles and setbacks, and you're like, oh no, and it starts to get a bit hard, and you've got problems to sort through. And if you travel through that, that's when you get to success in whatever terms you define it. And a lot of people give up at that
Yeah.
point in the valley of despair. But actually, you've got to keep going through it. It's like the thorny forest. You've got to get through it to get to the other side of the forest. If you keep starting at different ends of the thorny forest, you're never going to get through because you're just starting
Yeah.
and getting a few inches and then giving up and a few inches and then giving up.
You could be there quite a while.
Forever. Yeah.
But I think it's so true. I always use the analogy of, and many people would laugh if they hear me say this because I always use this, is when you go down to your kitchen, you're not just going to go today and decide, right, I'm in my kitchen, I feel adventurous, I'm going to bake a cake, I'm going to put a chicken in the oven. Oh, I'll make a pot of curry, let's do some pancakes, that apple tart. Oh my gosh, if you try and do all of that in your kitchen, it will create a mess. You'll be overwhelmed with all the ingredients, and heavens forbid, making sure that everything is timed perfectly so it turns out edible at the end of the day.
Mm.
if you don't do that in your kitchen, why do you do that with your business? If you feel like you've got all of these things to offer, you're not going to focus on all of them. You're going to choose one. What is that one recipe that you want to do, that you want to see the results of? And you focus on that. You're going to do that recipe and over and over and over again, up to a point where you can put the recipe in the drawer. You don't need to look at it anymore because you're so used to making that recipe. Once you've perfected that, then you can say, okay, shall I add a little starter? Shall I add a dessert? And that's how you start bringing all the elements together for this beautiful dinner, if you want. But it's about just understanding that you can't do everything in one go. You've got to concentrate on one recipe, get that off the ground, and then think about adding the starters or the desserts. That's what
Oh,
I always use to explain it, because I feel like I said, you and I speak the same language, but I wanted to get that across to people that it is not just about doing everything and, like you said, spreading yourself so thin. It's about that focus. I know it's hard, but you've got to start somewhere. And once you've got that focus and you see the results, the success, it's going to motivate you to do more, in a sense of like, let's maybe add a little starter or a dessert. And that's how you grow the business entirely.
bravo. I love that.
Thank you.
I'll be quoting you. Henriette says, it's like going down into a kitchen. I'll definitely be using that. I love that analogy.
And
Oh,
yeah, and this is why I was so excited to have this conversation with you, because I feel like, sometimes when you say something to people, it's very one-sided, but having the conversation together and hearing your perspective on it, I think that kind of hits home for a lot of people, especially if they're
mm,
in that point now where they in that dip where they have all of these
mm,
obstacles and they're going, nothing is working. Should I give up? Or should I try
yeah,
something new? It's like, no, 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 keep going, but just focus on
yeah,
that one thing. Choose that one thing and run with it. And you
yeah,
will find success. Just don't give up in the
yeah,
instances where you hit an obstacle or two.
yes. Oh, I think we all need some sort of poster on the walls of reminding us. I had a friend, this is slightly off topic, but a friend of mine posted on LinkedIn recently. She has a post-it saying dumber people than you. It's not very PC, the word dumb, but people with less talent than you and less intelligence than you have got a lot further. So
Yeah.
why not you? And I
Yeah.
love that little reminder. It's like you just sometimes you just need something to click you back into motivation, don't you?
Yeah. You do. You do. And I hope, hopefully, the one person listening to us today would go like, that's it. It's all I needed today, just to keep
Yeah.
going, get the
Yeah.
motivation back.
Yes, that's it.
Now, the other thing is you are actually in the process of getting a book ready. I
I
mean,
am.
it's going to launch very soon. And the
Very
book is
soon.
called Easy Yes, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about it.
Um, Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, it's called the Easy Yes because my clients want easier. Who doesn't want easier yeses? You don't want to be convincing people. I don't like this feeling of sales as persuading. Like you don't want this, but I'm gonna make you buy it with mind tricks. That's horrible, especially
Yeah.
if you're selling like really high touch relational services. You don't want people buying who don't want it, do you?
Yeah.
You want them to be enthusiastic and ready to go. So the easy yes is about what you can do so that the right people will be an easy yes.
Yeah.
And it's about it's another take, it's a fresh take on the buyer journey. So typical buyer journeys are linear, or sometimes you see a loop, but essentially it tends to be quite brand focused. Does this person doesn't know who you are yet, and then they know who you are and they trust you a bit, and then they buy from you, and maybe they loop back to beginning again and they buy something else from you. But that doesn't take into consideration so the nuances of how aware of their own problem they are, how aware they are of what they actually want. Because when they know that there's something in their life they want to change,
Yeah.
and they know and trust you like loads because they've, listened to your podcast or read a few of your blogs, then it's going to be an easy yes, isn't it? So that's what the book's about. It's sort of extrapolating out where on this map your clients are, whether it's an audience as a general, group, or whether it's an individual. So I've got
Yeah.
some nice examples of individual sales that have fallen through. My clients have come to me tearing their hair out, going, "Why did this not go through? This was make or break for my business. It didn't go through. Was I not cheap enough?" That's always a good one. It's like, no, actually, you thought they were here, but actually they were down here, and they didn't know you
Mm,
well enough, and they weren't even convinced they had a problem yet. So they were never going to buy, and it's not your fault. So,
yeah.
and that
Oh,
you can lead that through onto your marketing strategy.
I love that. And I think it beautifully leads in with the conversation we had here today is about what is that one thing, the reverse niching that you spoke about
Mm.
earlier. And then what is the next step? The marketing. Get that easy yes, but all of that's got to fall in place. And I love
Mm.
the fact that your book is coming up very soon. So for those of you listening, if you absolutely love what Janina said here today, my suggestion is to go into my show notes. There's a link there to the book where you can, for the time being, go and sign up to the waitlist. And by the way, Janine said that if you sign up to the waitlist for the time being, you're going to get some amazing extra freebies, some downloads. Is that correct, Janine? Some extra stuff just to
Yes.
help them in addition with the book?
Yeah, yeah. There'll be, I haven't decided exactly what that's going to look like, but there'll be some downloads and perhaps a workshop or a hefty discount
Oh,
for a workshop that's coming up, or series of workshops.
amazing.
It's all,
I
it's
know.
all, it's a brilliant exercise in juggling, because I'm editing the book, creating the workshops, and marketing, and
I know.
going back to focus on one thing. It's like,
Yeah, but you're
okay,
focusing on the book. You're
I
focusing on the
am focusing
launch
on
of
the
the book.
book.
That's it. And
Exactly,
you're just bringing in
exactly.
your starter, your dessert. You're just making sure that it's all going to be there ready to go. So
Yes,
you're doing all the right
exactly.
stuff. You're
Yeah,
preaching what you tell people to do.
yeah.
Or no, you're doing what you're preaching. Let me get that right as well. So for those of you listening, obviously, like I said, the link is in my show notes. Go and have a look or sign up to the waitlist so you can get a copy of the book, and then obviously all this other good stuff that is coming your way. And then, of course, if you want to connect with Janine, all her social media details will be in the show notes as well as her website. So feel free to reach out to her. Maybe if you've got a couple of extra questions about what it is that she said today that just kind of sparked something for you or just got you all giddy and excited to actually keep going, by all means, reach out to her and have a conversation with her. But all in all, Janine, this was just fabulous. I love having these conversations. Like I said in the beginning, I get so fired up when I do these interviews because
Mm.
a part of me is like, oh, I know this is going to be good, but I don't know where it's going to go. And at the end, I'm like, oh, this was awesome. What's next on the list? So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and just sharing all this good stuff. I really, I find value in what it is that you offered today. So thank you.
Oh, well, likewise. It's been really invigorating, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, keep well, stay in touch, and we'll speak soon again.
Thanks.